Hi there, I'm First Warn 5, Meteorologist Mike Nicco. I sure hope you had a great Thanksgiving. A lot to be thankful over here on my end, and one of those is to be bringing you the weather once again. So happy to do that. In fact, we've got a pretty interesting scenario setting up. We had that rain. It kind of tried to change the snow. It didn't really in the Kansas City area. We had plenty of snow up in north central northeast Missouri, though. Wow, what a whopper they got, as we expected. But for us here, now we turn our attention to what is coming our way. And the first of that is going to be that first warn that we've still had in for several days now for the coldest air of the season. We're talking about the coldest low, coldest high, coldest wind chills of the season. And that is going to set the stage for a quick moving, a clipper-like system called a shortwave, or you can call it a clipper, that's going to roll through. These are usually moisture starved, but this one's going to have enough that it's going to bring us possibly 1 to 3 inches of snow, maybe some isolated areas of 4 inches, and it's going to be most impactful from about noon to 8 o'clock, and that's why we have a first warn weather day. Let's talk about the first and most likely the most impactful. I mean, the new first warn weather day for Monday, first accumulating snow of the season. Hazardous travel is going to be possible. Now, it's not going to be hazardous everywhere. A lot of variables go into that. You know, roads that are driven more tend to stay warmer, tend to get treated first, and then the secondary roads, and then, you know, even the smaller roads. So we're going to see our best conditions on our main roads. But once you get to some of those side roads, there's possibly some snowpack on some of those roads, especially in our subdivisions, the ones that are least likely to get plowed and treated. So some of those are some of the variables we're looking at. Also, exactly the track of this storm could wobble just enough. Here's what we're thinking right now. In the morning, there'll be flurries to light snow. That ½ inch to an inch is more than likely after the morning commute, but I'll show you future radar and snow totals up here hour by hour in just a second. We've got our best chance in the afternoon into the early evening hours. That's when the first warm weather day really kicks in. That's why those boxes are red, because that's when we have the best chance of light to moderate snow, 1 inch to 3 inch total, and it'll taper to flurries during the evening. But with the heaviest snow falling in the afternoon, that means it's going to be around for the evening commute. So we wanted to make sure we kept the evening commute in there. Even though the heaviest snow will be over, the snow that's already fallen, it's going to cause you some issues trying to get around. So here's a look at the way it's going to play out. We've got a 40% chance at 6 o'clock, jumping up to 50 from 8 to 10. And then you can see from noon on, let me get myself out of the way here. From noon on all the way to 8, we've got anywhere from 70 at noon. You can see it ramping up in the mid-afternoon, 80%, still 70% at 4 o'clock, and then 50% at 6, and 7, and 8 when we'll finally end the first warn weather day for then. So let's take a look at the winter storm index scale. And all of us, at least, are going to be in a 1. Okay? And what does that mean? So let's move forward and take a look at what exactly that means. And what that means is we're going to have some light snow. Okay, we could possibly have an accumulation of 1 to 2 inches. Now that is going to make for mainly wet roads, because a light snow that accumulates to 1 to 2 inches over an 8 to 12 hour period is going to come down really light. The ground still going to be warm, but it'll be dropping below freezing because we're going to be so cold tomorrow. But I'm really thinking during the middle of the day, you got a nice sun angle that helps warm the ground just a little bit. There will be definitely some slick spots out there. All right, I'm looking at the comments, just want to let you know. So, Katrina, good evening. What is going to be like for Independence? I'm going to show you that just in a second. And when is it going to snow? Wyatt? Good question. So, let me break this down and show you even further. So, we're going to have a strip of heavier snow. This is what's going to wobble north or south. I gave kind of a wide berth right now. It could be anywhere from Highway 36, that's up near Atchison, St. Joe, Cameron, Chillicothe, all the way down to Highway 50, maybe even a little bit further south or farther south around places like Ottawa, Paola, Harrisonville, Warrensburg, and Sedalia. So a wide berth right now. That's a 2 on the scale of 1 to 4. So what exactly does that mean? Well, let me break it down for you. Here's a look. That 2 is a medium, okay? That means we're going to have light to moderate snow, but the accumulations are going to be higher. We're going to be more likely on the 2 to 3 inch range here. And then our roads are going to have a multitude of hazards, whether it's wet, slushy, So there's going to be some areas that have some snow, especially some of those areas that possibly could get 4 inches. Now, there's only one model that's showing that there are some areas that will get 4 inches around Leavenworth, St. Joe, and Chillicothe, but it's something we're definitely keeping in mind and have not ruled out. And the one thing about anywhere where it's wet, the temperature is going to drop below 15 degrees Monday night. And that means Tuesday morning, there could be some areas of black ice that we're going to have to contend with. All right, so let's break it down and kind of show you how this is going to unfold. Here we are at midnight Monday. Let's roll through this, and you can see it moving, spreading from west east. Now, I'm going to stop this at 7 o'clock so you can see it's mainly eastern Kansas that has anything measurable, and it's less than a half an inch. Will that cause some problems? Maybe, but I imagine, just from previous experience, that the major roads will be treated. They'll start treating them tomorrow, I would imagine, especially during the evening and overnight hours. Now let's roll from 7 to 9, and there we start to get a little bit of a measurement on the Missouri side. Not a lot around, Maryville, Cameron, and Richmond, but then we're starting to see almost a half inch in Kansas City and Harrisonville. So by the end of the commute, things are going to get a little bit dicier. All right, so let's move on to lunch, and you can see, oh, look at that. By the end of lunch, we're starting to get into those pockets of moderate snow. It's going to be a light snow most of the day with some areas, some pockets, some time from time of moderate snow. So now we're getting up to anywhere around 1 inch to 2 inches of snow as we move through the lunch hour. So now it's starting to get a little impactful, but this is also going to be the warmest part of the day, the highest sun angle, and that can always, even with a cloudy sky, warm the ground just enough. And with everybody out there driving, hopefully it keeps the roads nice. But as we head into the 6 o'clock hour, now you're starting to get into your 2 to 3 inch snow bands. And that's why we think it's going to be a potential issue, especially for the evening commute, and why we have the first warn from noon all the way through 8 o'clock. Once we get past 6 o'clock, no more snow, but still the lingering effects during the evening commute are there. Now, this is the way it looks outside right now, Midwest Heating, Cooling, Plumbing camera. We've got plenty of cloud cover out there. It really shows off the lights nicely in the plaza. Let's talk about tomorrow. We've got a first warn. All right, coldest day this season was yesterday at 34. Remember that 2-day cold snap we had earlier in November? On the 10th, we dipped down to 19. Let me show you the temperatures for Sunday. We're waking up 18 degrees, even with the cloud cover, and the cloud cover will keep us from warming much. 27 degrees is as warm as I see on any model. A lot of them are around 23 to 25 degrees. So here's Sunday. That is one of the reasons we have a first warn, but it's the wind chills that, what it feels like to you and me. And what it feels like is like 5 to 10 degrees. Okay, that's what it's going to feel like in the morning. In the afternoon, still around 15 to 20. So if you're out for an extended period of time, it can be, can be a little hazardous to your health. Here's the way it breaks down. We're still in the single digits through most of the morning, and then we'll bump up to those mid-teens to 20 in the afternoon. But this isn't the only day. I mean, starting right now or starting earlier this afternoon, we've had feels like temperatures below freezing, and we're going to continue to have feels like temperatures below freezing for several days. So warm jacket, layers, hat and gloves, warm shoes. Yeah, probably those same warm shoes Sunday that you'll wear to keep you from getting wet on Monday. Let me take a look at the feels like temperatures, and then I'm going to look over here and take a look at some of your comments and questions. Just wanted to kind of wrap this up before we get to the Security Bank 7-day forecast by showing you the feels like temperatures that are below freezing through at least Wednesday, possibly even Thursday, as we have a dry cold front go through. So hopefully, Anna, you saw on that where Raytown is going to be. I can go back and show you the snow for that. It's a big snowstorm coming to Kansas. It's not a big storm, Zachary. It's a baby storm. It's a clipper. It's moisture starved. It's not tapping into Gulf moisture. It has to bring its own moisture with it from the Pacific Northwest through the Rockies and into our neighborhoods. And a lot of that moisture gets pushed out or squeezed, if you will, when it comes over the Rockies. So for you who was it in Raytown? I wanted to know. Anna. I wanted to know in Raytown. So you're going to be around that 3-inch, I think, possible. Okay? So that's what we're looking at. Is it going to be safe for buses? Anna asks again. Is this a different Anna or another Anna? This is Anna Mitchell. The other one's Anna Mitchell. All right, Anna, you're bringing some good questions. I appreciate that. I think it will be okay for buses. The heavier the vehicle is, the better it handles the snow. The heavier the vehicle is, the more friction it creates on the pavement, which warms the pavement. Plus, buses, now this is just my opinion, they're going to be traveling, routes that most people use. They're going to be traveling busy streets that will be treated, that will stay hopefully just wet to slushy because they'll be treated and many people will be driving on them. And the friction between your tire and the road does warm the road just a little bit. Your tire, as it inflates and deflates due to the weight as it goes around and around and hits the ground, that creates friction, which creates heat. And that's why the more you drive on the road, the warmer it's going to be. All right, I think it's going to affect the airport. Caitlin, boy, that's a good question. And in my experience, Caitlin, this is going to be so light that I think the impacts will be minimal. If the impacts are out there, it's going to be mainly in the morning, maybe possibly, where we may come in and some of the earliest flights trying to get out may have a little bit of a light dusting on the wings, and then they're going to want to treat those before they take off. Taking off and landing, boy, they do such a good job at the airport of keeping it clean. And this is going to be kind of a long duration, low snow event. By that I mean low intensity. When we have high intensity snow, it tends to pile up faster because it creates its own ecosystem. It comes down so quickly, it freezes, and then it keeps everything frozen. This is going to be a drier snow. It's not going to be a wet snow like we saw with this last system. Completely different system. The system we just dealt with was a wet system. It tapped into the Gulf. That's why we saw 6, 7, 8, 9 inches of snow in northeast, north central, and eastern Missouri. I know my sister had 6 inches in St. Louis, and my son, just a side note, he's stuck in Chicago. He can't get out. Flight's been canceled. So the storm was definitely much stronger the farther north than it was. Will Overland Park be massively affected? No, not massively. I mean, with a level 2 storm, sometimes we can have delays. But again, with this, the bulk of this falling when the sun is up, that is going to help keep your amounts down and keep things, in check for the most part. That's why it's a one borderline too. If this was coming at night, I would be a little bit more worried, honestly, about the snow and the potential for it to stick to a greater extent. So if you're just joining us, let me kind of go back and show you what's going to happen. Here we are going through the morning hours, light snow rolling in, and by 9 o'clock, we're looking at upwards of a ½ inch, maybe a little bit more in eastern Kansas. Okay, light snow starts to mix with some moderate snow as we head towards lunch, and you can see the jump. There we go. We're starting to see 1 inch to 2 inch, and then that moderate snow will push us up to the 2 to 3 inch range for most of us. Now, light snow falls at like a ½ inch per hour. That's what we're going to have most of the time. Moderate snow falls at a ½ inch to 1.5 inches. So there could be a burst here and there where that is possible, and that's why we have the level 2 on the winter storm impact scale for this particular storm. So that's what we're looking at. After the snow, Zachary, after the snow, are we going to get more snow next month? Well, yeah, that's a guarantee. Yeah, I would guarantee we're going to get some snow. But if you're asking specifically, when is our next snowstorm? I don't see one after this. Let me show you the Security Bank 7-day forecast. And there's a cold front that rolls through Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, but it's going to be dry. Okay, but look what it does to our temperatures Thursday. But then we've got a warming trend for Friday and Saturday. So pretty much we're front-loading the Security Bank 7-day forecast with our most impactful weather, whether it be the coldest temperatures and coldest wind chills of the season for that first warm Sunday, or for the first warm weather day with that impactful snow that falls. After that, the snow hanging around will keep the temperature down Tuesday. That's why we're only going to warm to 33, even with sunshine. The albedo, or how much sunshine is reflected by the snow, fresh snow is 97. By the time we get to Tuesday, it'll be much less than that, but it's going to keep our temperature down. By Wednesday, it should probably be gone if we're mostly sunny Tuesday. But we'll be mostly cloudy Wednesday, and that's what's going to keep us at 36. And then we're on the backside of that Canadian cold front, and we're back down. Thursday, after Sunday's our coldest day of the season, Thursday says, the saying. It says, I'm going to do better, 12 and 27. And then Friday, we're finally above freezing, temperature-wise and wind chill-wise. And Saturday's looking pretty nice right now, partly cloudy, and about 41 degrees. Okay? So that's the way things are looking right now. It's 9:15. You give me about 45 minutes. I'm going to go back and check out some of the latest data. Model data is always coming in. And I'm going to bring you the latest information coming up at 10 o'clock. So thanks for stopping by. I hope you're having a great Saturday evening. We're going to keep you prepared for Sunday and Monday, and we'll give you updates every time we see some new information. It's either going to be here, or it's going to be on our app, or it's going to be on Twitter, Facebook, everywhere. Also on YouTube. So we're covering all the bases that we can. So thanks for stopping by. Thanks for trusting us, and have a great rest of your evening.